Hey, I get it. Standing in the aisle or scrolling through endless listings, you start wondering if that sleek wine cooler will actually keep your bottles at the right temperature, fit in the space you've set aside, and not turn into an expensive piece of furniture you never use. The last thing you want is to drop a few $100s on a unit that ends up humming in the corner while you keep buying a cheap fridge instead. Link is in the description if you want to check the product details on Amazon. So let's talk about the EdgeStar CWR1662SZ. It's a 24-inch wide, stainless steel single-zone wine cooler that can hold up to 151 bottles. At first glance, it looks like a good middle ground between a countertop mini-fridge and a full-size cellar. The real question is whether that middle ground translates into real everyday value for you, or if you're better off with a smaller countertop model or a larger, dual-zone unit. First, who does this actually work for? If you're a casual wine drinker who enjoys a decent selection, say, a few reds, a couple of whites, and maybe a sparkling bottle for celebrations, and you have a kitchen or dining room cabinet where a 24-inch unit will slide in without a fight, this cooler fits the bill. It's also a solid pick for a small to medium home bar that wants a dedicated spot for a growing collection without committing to a full cellar. The 151 bottle capacity means you can start with a modest dozen and have room to expand for a few years, which is something many smaller countertop models can't promise. Now, who should walk away? If you're serious about aging fine wines and need 2 temperature zones, one cooler for reds, another slightly warmer for whites and Ross, this single-zone design will feel limiting. The same goes for anyone who lives in a tight space that doesn't allow for a freestanding unit and also can't accommodate the venting requirements of a built-in installation. And if you're looking for a high-tech vibe with humidity control, UV-protected glass, or a digital display that remembers multiple temperature settings, you'll probably be disappointed. Let's get into the practical strengths. The first thing people notice is the even cooling technology EdgeStar advertises. In practice, that means the compressor and fan are positioned to circulate air throughout the interior, reducing hot spots. I've seen a few reviewers mention that bottles placed at the back or on the top shelves stay as close as possible to the set temperature as those on the bottom. For a single-zone unit, that consistency matters because you're relying on one temperature to serve a variety of wines. The stainless steel finish also does more than look good, it resists fingerprints and small dents better than a painted surface. In a kitchen that sees a lot of traffic, that low-maintenance exterior can save you a few extra cleaning sessions. The door swings out, which is handy if you're installing the cooler in a tight cabinet. There's no need to worry about the door hitting a wall or other appliances. And because it's designed to work either as a freestanding piece or as a built-in, you have flexibility during the planning stage. If you later decide to integrate it into a custom cabinet, the unit's dimensions stay the same, which can simplify a remodel. On the downside, the single-zone nature is the biggest trade-off. Imagine you've stocked a few chilled Sauvignon Blancs for a summer dinner, and you also want a room-temperature Pinot Noir for later in the evening. With only one temperature setting, you either keep the whites a bit warmer than ideal or the reds a touch cooler. For most everyday drinkers, that's manageable, but for a small gathering where you want each wine at its optimal temp, you'll have to make compromises. Noise is another practical consideration. The compressor cycles on and off, and while it's not as loud as a full-size refrigerator, it does produce a low hum that you'll hear if the cooler sits near a quiet living area. I've heard a few owners mention that the fan can create a slight whirring sound, which is generally fine in a kitchen but could be noticeable if the unit is placed in a bedroom or a home office. Temperature range is decent for most table wine needs, roughly 40°F to 65°F, but it doesn't dip low enough for long-term aging of delicate reds that sometimes benefit from the mid-50s. The digital thermostat is straightforward, but there's no separate humidity sensor, so you'll have to rely on the sealed door and the inherent moisture from the bottles themselves. In humid climates, that can sometimes lead to a little extra condensation on the interior walls, which you'll need to wipe down occasionally. One feature that can catch